He's working quite a bit. So I've got Josh Fate. Josh is with Ultra Botanica. He's from Tulsa, and he comes down every week and dives with us. He's a pseudoscientist. I think would probably be a good way to explain his position. But he's working on a lot of different supplements that using different botanicals and using a lot of science, looking at the studies and how can we apply those studies to what we're doing. So in all of that, I got Cheyenne Silva. She came and started diving with us about 6 months ago, and she's been through some really neat things because of what she's been able to learn from her journey, and she was offering to share what she's been doing. I've got a lot of clients that are following her because it's amazing what she's been able to do, what she's been able to accomplish on her own.
It's really just Robert.
It's on her own and through Robert. So anyway, we've got a group of people that are all dealing with some of the same things that we dive every Thursday at 10 o'clock, and then we get out and have a conversation, and Keith's real involved with that. Got a lot of clients. So anyway, I am going to, I'm just going to kind of throw it at you. You came here and started diving, and then lots of things happened in the time that I've known you. Do you mind giving us a little insight to how you came here, why you came here, some of the people you met, and how this is just a little bit about your journey, and then we'll talk about some specifics.
Okay. Well, I came here because I was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and then I started researching things that could help me, and hyperbaric was one of those things. So I called you, you called me back, told me that I should come up, and then I came here and I loved it. I met a lot of people like me. It makes me feel like a little weird because I'm the youngest one here. But I like my cancer friends. Yeah, I know, old lives matter right there. Well, I just, maybe I'm too young for this crowd, right?
No,
I shouldn't be with this diagnosis.
Bring a lot of joy to
Yeah.
Well, you hit on it there, because that's what everybody tells you. You're too young for this.
That's what they said.
You don't fit the mold.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't been persistent in how you were going about it,
Yeah.
you may not have
Yeah.
discovered
Yeah,
it
I
in
went to
time.
8 doctors. They literally told me that. They were like, "Oh, you're too young to have cancer." I'm like, but it feels like it hurts every day. You know.
38.
You were 38 too? Yeah. Yeah. So we're too young to have cancer. So then I started doing a little research on my things, found out about epigenetics. Then I had my surgery. My doctor told me that my cancer was bad luck. And
I'm going to stop you at the
Okay.
epigenetics. You're jumping over some things that are real important to, I think, a lot of people out there, that they don't know what epigenetics are. So you went and had some genetic testing done before you ever went to have your surgery.
Yeah, I had genetic testing done because of my kids. I was just afraid that it could give them some issue if I gave them the shots. I just wanted to be certain that if I was gonna give them the shots, they would be okay. I did it on me and on my husband. So then I found out, and I started taking some proper B complex, and then I was able to go to the bathroom that I've told you before, and I started feeling a lot better, being able to detox. Then remember I came here and I was like, you guys, I think epigenetics caused my cancer. That was just one stage. Then I
But
went
again,
farther.
you're jumping over some things that are real important, because your whole life you dealt with constipation.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is what you think led to this.
Yeah, because I feel like I've been blocked up my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you're not absorbing your nutrients because you didn't know you were a non-methylator.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing changes how you can feed your body to take care of itself.
Yeah. So once I tested myself, I also told my mom, because I have the genes that come from her, which also comes from my dad. I'm like, we have to take this for the rest of our lives. It's better to be on that than be on statin or whatever for the rest of our life, just fixing your methylation. And it's not that your genes are broken. You just have to support them, and now you know, so that should fix most of your problems. Because for me, it was 5 days, and I was able to go to the bathroom after 37 years of trying everything. So that was a big deal for me.
And I would say it was because I'm listening to Casey Means's book, Good Energy, again for the second time right now. And it's on the way here, she was discussing the whole thing about genes. And if you test, you'll know if it's indicative that you might come with something, but how you nourish yourself determines how those genes are going to express. And it's like we were talking about Braxa. You may have a gene that would indicate something could go wrong, but there's ways to prevent that from happening if you know how to feed it instead of diluting yourself.
Well, yeah, because we're talking about the BRCA gene and what we've been thinking about it, that, you need to support that gene, not go and have like a really serious surgery and you have a friend that never even stopped her from having the cancer. So epigenetics really matter, I think, and I think it's a big deal to put with cancer, but people are not talking much about it yet, I feel like.
Right.
It seems so simple.
They look at the cancer like that's the disease, and it might be something more than that. We think it's metabolic in nature, and it goes to other things. So, I kind of think it's a symptom of something bigger, even though that's what you're having to deal with immediately, because that's the acute issue that's popping up.
Well, and I mean, till today, we still believe cancer is genetics, and I think people need to
I think it's
question
a lot more
that.
to do with environment. You might be genetically more.
Yeah, like the BRCA.
Might be more susceptible to it, but if you pay attention to how you're feeding yourself and your environment, your environment, what you're around, and how you exercise and do other things, I think you can mitigate your chances for that progressing.
I want to dig down in your situation that you were not eliminating properly for all these years.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
2.5 years ago. Well, I mean, and people don't really equate that to the same thing that you're now able to talk about, and that is if you're not detoxing through a primary elimination.
Yeah, sweat or the other two.
You got all these toxins in you and they're not leaving.
Yeah.
And then you stack on top of that the mold in your ice maker.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead up to your surgery, and you kind of skipped over that. I'm going to kind of back up and so you weren't eliminating, then you start dealing with this mold issue that you couldn't find in your house.
Well, so I tested my house because when I first came here, which I've learned a lot of things here from a lot of people, and when one of the first people I met was Erin. She was like, mold gave me breast cancer. So I went home and I had a mold guy, and he couldn't find anything in my house. So that's why now I say if I had cancer, the first thing I would have tested is my body, because you need to let your body know what you're being exposed to, because that would have saved me 6 months if I had tested my body instead of my house, because my house came clean, and nobody that's talking about mold is talking about appliances. They only think it's like a building. They're not talking about, it could even be your car, like you said about that guy that got sick. Yeah. So I had surgery, and I didn't know that I had been exposed to mold. And I only found out after, because my doctor said it was bad luck. So Erin kept sending me videos about mold. She literally saved my life, because if she didn't insist, I probably wouldn't have listened. So once she said, I was like, well, maybe I should just test it. I'll just test for mold. So I tested my body, and it came back 10 times what it should be.
And that's a mycotoxin.
Mycotoxin, ochratoxin. And I was basically ingesting mold every day from my ice machine. But it's not that I'm crazy and I didn't see the mold. It looked very clean.
Back up, because it's not the active mold, it's the mycotoxin.
It's the
produced
mycotoxin.
by the mold. So there's two different things, and
Yeah.
they're not testing for the mycotoxin in the home. They're
Yeah.
testing for the active.
For the mold,
for
exactly.
The mold in the home, and so they're two
Well,
different things.
It's even like to test the ice machine for ochratoxin, it's very hard. So there's not much study on mycology, ochratoxin. It's an area that there's not that much that you can do, you know. They'll test for mold, like he said, but not, they expect that you have to find that mold to have that ochratoxin. Like, you can't really just test the ochratoxin.
Let's dig down into how you found the mold. You took another part of that appliance off.
Yeah.
So tell
So
us.
it looked very clean, and I had a thing against this ice machine, since we moved, because I just thought it was weird, you know, that water under there. Who's cleaning all those lines? How does it get there? So I always ask my husband to clean. He cleaned every 2 months. So whenever he came back, then my body was high for this ochratoxin, and the house was clean. I knew the house didn't have mold. I had him open the whole ice machine. And whenever he opened, the part that makes the ice was full of mold. And then I have actually found other reviews on this ice machine that people said that theirs was the same way, and they couldn't even clean it because you can't even open up or get to it. It's impossible to clean. So other people have shared the same problem with them. So I suspect there's more people sick like me because of them.
And then as you've dug into this, hospitals, schools,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, give the big picture on this mold issue.
Yeah, then I went on Reddit, and then it was full of photos of like ice machines full of mold, especially at hospitals, like places that you don't think about, that who's taking care of that in the hospital, you know what I mean? Like, they're busy at doing other stuff, not really cleaning the ice machine. And it's literally everywhere, and it can be, since then so my post has been shared. I share my story on Facebook and has been shared 5,000 times, so a lot of people have seen. And on Reddit there's been 60,000 people read it, and on TikTok 70,000 people read it. So like a little bit of people have read it. And then people have started reaching out to me and said, I checked my ice machine today, it was full of mold. Or they're like, I opened up my my refrigerator line and I was feeling the same symptoms as you. And then they show me a photo of the cord of the line full of mold. This lady, she was really sick, and I told her to check her sleep apnea machine.
Good question.
Yeah, we're going to get into cold here in a minute. That's an important component. So
Yeah. So this lady, it was on her sleep apnea machine. So it can be everywhere. It can be on Keurig. It can be on like your washer, front loaders. They have a lot. Dishwasher, refrigerator, ice machine. It can literally be everywhere.
and so you made mention of going to your home country, Brazil, and you don't ask for ice in your drinks.
Well, no, it was when
Italy.
we were in Italy.
Italy,
Yeah.
okay.
So we were in Italy last year, and it was really weird to me that they don't give you drinks with ice. And whenever you ask, they get very upset. They don't like ice, you know, they're very against it. And it makes you wonder, is that why they're healthier? You know, they open their windows, they're not being sealed like we are here by all this technology. They don't have that many appliances. In Brazil, people wash dishes by hand. They don't use the dishwashers, you know. They let their clothes dry out in the sun, not with the machine at home. So there's all those stuff, like it's this convenience of America making us sick, you know. It made me question that. Or ACs everywhere making us sick, you know.
The guy with the car, air-conditioned car, got sick. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a known issue with this specific model of Cadillac, that he had mold blowing in his face, and,
Yeah.
and his son found an article on it
Yeah.
and said, hey, Dad, did you know? And so they dig down into it, and sure enough, there's a defect in the air conditioner.
Well,
There's all
and-
this mold
And people
accumulated.
don't think they're being exposed like me. I didn't think I was exposed. I was like, no. When Erin first told me, I was like, no, my house is new. My house is like 2018. She's like, no, it can't happen anywhere. And my house was new. My house was okay. But nobody in that air, whenever I told Erin, she was like, well, you found out it's really big, because she follows a lot of people that talk about mold. And she says she has never seen anybody that talk about mold talk about appliances. So it's a thing that nobody has talked about.
And somebody here asked, how does it grow in the cold? And it does. And I was thinking, I wanted, because I'm thinking warm, moist, dark, but cold, and you think about just your
It's
decay.
always wet.
Yeah, it's always moist and it's circulating, and you just think about your food, you know, like your vegetables or anything that's left in there
Yeah.
will mold. Well, that's going to get recirculated in the environment.
Well, that's true. And I've been trying to get a lawyer on my case. And one of the lawyers was like, well, mold doesn't grow on cold. I was like, just open any ice machine and it'll prove you wrong. You know, like, I mean, I bet 80% of the ice machines out there are making us sick.
And if all of a sudden this is a problem, what has just been launched in the last 3 or 4 years?
Oh, like that for the ice machine that I said?
5G.
Oh, yeah, mold is really bad. 5G is really bad for people that have been exposed to mold and have mycotoxins inside of them. It reacts on them very
Well, if this is a
strong.
new thing, it
Yeah.
could very well be, you know, that it's being enhanced by radio frequency.
Well, there's this one lady, because now I'm part of all this Facebook groups, and I'm just like doing my research on Facebook groups. This one lady, she was talking about her husband, how he has glioblastoma and everything, and they just got married. So it made me think, well, they probably moved to this new house, a starter home, that probably was either remodeled and they didn't see it, or maybe had some mold. He might have been exposed to some ochratoxin or something like that. Then I went to see, so it was very creepy of me because I really went to check on their history. But I did some digging. The guy works for an energy company and he's exposed to EMF every day with 5G towers, and he has glioblastoma. But like, how do I tell her that without sounding crazy? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
look at this cycle. Went and search where my husband works. I don't know. Just things like that I've been like looking into. But I really think that's what caused his
A
glioblastoma.
lot of research about turning off your routers in your house when you go to sleep. I mean, everybody that's in the cancer world around my office here,
Yeah.
we all talk about what are we able to do to mitigate the amount of exposure we have. Turn off your routers when you're asleep. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, you don't need
there's
it.
all kinds of things to do if you know that it could be a problem. But a lot of people have no clue.
Yeah.
They have no clue what we're talking
Well,
about.
I think you've got an issue too with big industry, you know, because they're going to suppress anything
Oh, yeah.
about it, so you don't have honest. Yeah, I mean, you're normally left out of the room if you, as a conspiracy theorist, if you bring up any of this instead of having an objective conversation about real data. Fluoride, great example, yeah. But you just look at the objective data without being married to any of the outcomes, because the data will
Well,
tell you.
today actually it's kidney cancer day, and because of quackery, he made me think. I tried to share my story at the kidney cancers group, and I was called quackery, and I was blocked. So I haven't. The people that I really wanted to reach was the kidney cancer group. You know, more cancers, but especially that one because that was my cancer. They blocked me and didn't let me share the story. I was
And
called
what's
quackery.
crazy, ochratoxin is shown to cause your specific
Yeah,
form
renal
of-
cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of
And that's
cancer.
what they give mouse when they want to give them cancer. They want to give mouse kidney cancer, they'll give them ochratoxin. But then I shared that and they said, that's quackery. You don't know what you're talking about. They're like, causation is not correlation, something like that. I'm like, okay, fine. You literally just read this. I've been literally studying this for 3 weeks now.
Well, people that don't know about, I mean, if you get your phone out in here, if anybody had their phone handy and you look for the networks around here that are 5G, there's 10 locations in this.
I know I live by a
in
mile
my
to
shopping
one.
center. There's 10 different locations of in-house Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even talking about what's being zapped from the cell towers.
Oh,
around
yeah.
here. I'm talking about everybody's router. I can see 10 routers from in here.
And that's why it's so
shopping
important
Yeah.
to support your methylation, because we're being exposed to toxins everywhere.
Right.
So you need to be able to detox. You have to be able to detox. It's really important that you're supporting that for people like me. And they say 60% of people have it. I tested Robert. He has it. I checked his. Sharon has it. You know, I'm sure you guys probably have it.
And that circles back to
Yeah.
like what we've talked about before. You know, I'll circle back to Dr. Davis and gut health and everything else. You know, if you're not able to to process what you're eating, notwithstanding putting good stuff in you. You know, that controls your immune system, that controls these things. And if you don't know and you're not able to purge the toxins, because most people can handle this, your body can handle stuff naturally, but if you're compromised and you don't know it, and it's just a persistent accumulation, it doesn't have to be a mass event like I was exposed to a radiation leak.
It's that low
event.
exposure. It's like me. It took me 3 years. Low exposure. That low exposure really adds up. And then it goes back to like, you can have two people working with solvents or doing something that is really dangerous chemically. One will have cancer, the other one will not. Was that person being able to take out that toxin out of them, instead of the other one that was accumulating everything inside of it? So it goes back to that too.
So what about where this whole conversation kind of has gone since your surgery, and since you've continued educating yourself, you're trying to find a lab?
Yeah, I had a lady that has a cannabis lab she offered me, but I'm trying to find a medical lab just in case.
Tissue lab.
OSU reached out.
Oh yeah, Dr. Rolf Prade at OSU. He's a professor at my college in general molecular genetics, which is perfect because it's epigenetics and mycotoxins. So I was like, I didn't even know those two would go together, but now everything makes sense. But I reached out to him and I told him my story, and he said that he would be interested. So he asked me to send everything that I had. So I did. It has only been a couple days, so I'm waiting to hear from him. But I think he probably would have what I need to be tested.
So let's go back to mainstream medical. You got as far as you could with all the people that were involved with your surgery, with your cancer, and you ran into a barrier. What is it that what was that barrier, and how you're having to go out and find a lab to take that tumor to the next level?
Yeah, so normal hospitals and the pathology, they only test for fungi, but the problem is not live fungi. It's the mycotoxin, which is the byproduct of the mold. And there's even some theories that talk about fungi being cancer.
Waste of mold.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the problem. So I asked my surgeon, my urologist. Yeah. So I asked him to help me out, and he actually showed some interest. This is a top guy at one of the Dallas hospital, and I thought he was going to say, oh, don't even do anything. But he sent to the pathology report. So the pathology tested out, and as far as they could go, it was fungi. If it comes negative for fungi, which mine did, they couldn't go any farther. But I went and I was like, no.
That's gotta change.
Yeah, I was like, no, but that's not how you test it. You're not going to have it. Plus, my tumor was there for a month.
Right.
I don't know if that fungi would still be alive, or like just hanging in there in the frozen, however it was.
Well, and that's the thing, though. You can kill the fungi, but the mycotoxin will stay
Will
behind.
stay on.
That's true of mold across the board.
Yeah.
So it's the mycotoxins that are I mean, the mold can still give you issues, but it's the residual.
The mycotoxin is what's carcinogenic. Not every mold is bad, but every mycotoxin is carcinogenic.
So if you could ask anyone that's watching this, you're looking for a lab that will take this to the next level. And a lot of times that's personal connections. Obviously, mainstream medical is not interested. They're not going to pursue it.
Yeah.
So how do you make a plea that, hey, if anybody out there knows of a lab that has the ability
to test the tumor
and toxins?
Well, there has been a study. Dr. Hooper, he's the owner of Real Time Labs, and he took out 31 tumors from several things. 4 of those 31s were kidney cancer. And out of the 31s, 27 of them had mycotoxins inside of them. All kidney cancers had mycotoxins inside of them. So that's a huge number.
Yeah. Well, that's a big,
out of 31, I don't know, what's that, maybe 80%?
Are you able to connect with him on this?
I have emailed him, but he sold the lab. So he said the people that they do now, they don't test tissue. But I think the right person will show up. I think right now with OSU and maybe Josh might share with some people that might have some interest. I think we'll get there. I think so. Just gotta develop the theory more.
So, I don't know, Betty, have there been any questions? Okay. So, Betty is in the other office. So, anyway, where do we go from here? What is a way to protect yourself besides turning off your routers maybe and cleaning out, identify the mobile.
Well, so if you have cancer, and nobody's talking about this, no, first test it. But you cannot heal if you're still exposed to what's making you sick. So I think you need to stop exposure. Number one thing. Then you can pursue whatever you think it's the best way to heal your cancer. And you need to support your methylation pathways and glutathione, because I bet a lot of these people are really depleted on glutathione because your mycotoxins, they use that, right? They feed on that. And they'll like turn off your P53, turn off a lot of things that your body needs to fight the cancer. So it's like I took a look at Robert's cancer on RGCC, and it's like his cancer is invisible to his immune system. His immune system doesn't know it's there because the mycotoxins shut it all off,
And that's the thing. The type of cancer affects different metabolic pathways, makes them dysfunctional, and so being aware of that. And most approaches are not looking at all the pathways associated with it. They'll look at the prominent pathway and try to address that.
Just that one pathway.
Yeah, and then they don't take the whole picture into account. It's just like you and taking all 14 years of data and uploading it, and then all of a sudden, of course this happened. Of course
Yeah,
this happened,
it's very
because there's a
simple, and that's what I
pattern.
was telling you. It's just so simple if you really look at the whole picture, And when people talk about it, it sounds so complicated, but it's very simple. I was exposed to something that made me sick. I couldn't detox. That was all building up on me. It took all my good nutrients. My body couldn't fight. I got sick. It's very simple. What do I need to do to win it back? First, I need to support my methylation. Then I need to detox this bad thing that is still inside of me, because although it took my tumor out, my ochratoxin is still 10 times the allowed amount. In the first 3-4 weeks after my tumor was out, I still hurt a lot of flank pain. And I think I was heavily detoxing, and I'm still am, but I think that was my main time, because my body was like, wait, we're not having to fight that ochratoxin coming in every day. Maybe now we can clean up and catch up, So those first 4 weeks was very hard for me.
But even before cancer, just being informed. Like
How
you
to
said,
prevent.
Yeah, if you had tested years ago, or your doctors had tested you years ago, just for the non-B-methylation issue,
Yeah. I would have
there would
known.
have been things that you
Yeah,
could do to
prevent.
help prevent
Yeah.
or mitigate.
And I think maybe eventually would catch up with me, because probably not good to be drinking mode.
Right. But your body would be able to handle things better if you were aware.
Or maybe I would have, because it's
Right.
like those people that have proper methylation, they're exposed
Yeah.
to solvent or whatever it is, and they don't get cancer. Maybe I would have if I was doing the right way. Maybe my body wouldn't have crushed it. I wouldn't have been able, I don't know.
But no, that's the thing. If you're paying attention, you've got an interest in your personal health and take control of it. Whether it's a max gen test or whatever. They're not overly expensive to get the baseline information you need to know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. If I
before it
was
becomes an issue.
diagnosed with cancer today, I would do two things. I would do a mycotoxin test, and I would know my epigenetics. So a MaxGen lab, or even take out your raw data from Ancestry or 23andMe. You already did those.
Dig into your epigenetics, because not only did you get the genetic profile, which is pages and pages and pages of every gene in your body, but you sent it to another company that ran that through a computer and identified what?
Oh yeah, they just know what genes are turned on and off. So it's really, you just know how your body works, what's working, what's not.
But what did that follow-up computerized test, what information did that give you that you would make changes?
Okay, so that told me that I didn't methylate the proper, I need the proper B12 vitamin, and I was very low in folate. I was very low in all B vitamins, to be really honest, because
you couldn't absorb it.
I think
You
so
were
too.
non-methylated,
Yeah. So
But that second computerized data processing gave you a solution to, number one, your inability to eliminate.
Yeah. Well, it's because if I just got the raw data, I wouldn't know. I had to put it there to show me because it's very complicated because they're just little numbers.
Well,
It's
that's
like,
that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get people to understand is you did that second phase of
Yeah.
data entry. They
you
ran
can't
all
just
that-
get the raw data because you
Yeah.
won't understand.
Yeah, and then they gave you, hey, here's some things you could change,
Yeah.
and in 4 days or 5 days,
Yeah, then
What
5,
happened?
then I started taking the proper methylation and I went to the bathroom.
And look at the labs, the different labs. I know
MaxGen is really good. I have used it.
You can do the simple test, but they also have it's a little more. I think it's about $600 for the comprehensive, but it tests, I don't know, 100 or 150 different epigenetics, and then it gives you guidance on how to go past it. So the
I had
simple
that test.
is like $300, something thereabouts, and then the more comprehensive actually tells you how to take steps to correct or.
So, like, for example, so I looked at Robert's test, and then I went online and I found this one lady at the RGCC group, and I wanted to do a breast cancer one. So I asked her to share with me her RGCC test, and on her RGCC test, I could tell from everything that she was folate backed up. Her folate they never worked. She never had the proper folate, and she needed to do folinic acid. So I could tell right there that that's probably how she got her cancer, the exposure and then not being able to detox. And then I think too, different mycotoxins will trigger a few things because her test is very similar to Robert's, but she has some different pathways because I think her mycotoxin will probably be zeroly known. I can never say that word. That's the breast cancer mycotoxin. And I think for Robert, it'll probably be ochratoxin that will be high, or maybe some aflatoxin. But hers is the other one. So she has a couple other things that are a little different. And her cancer is more aggressive than Robert's, which makes me wonder that she's still being exposed to what's making her sick.
And she may have other things compromised.
Yeah.
Because of that as well.
I'm going to dig down. I don't know how our audio works, so if somebody wants to tell me, you're welcome to. But I want people to understand this genetic testing because we're still not real clear. If I was sitting out there, I'm going, what are they talking about? So you took your first genetic testing. You just did the genetic testing. It was like $300 or...
The first one I did was really expensive because I did 10X Health, which I do not recommend because they only test 5 things. It was like $600. That's how I found out. I listened to Gary Brecka, which I mean, I think it's good. He's sharing the like mainstream.
waking everybody
Yeah, but it's not that deep. So once you learn about it, you go to like Dr. Ben Lynch or some other people that are talking more in depth about this stuff.
So you do the first test, and then you turned around and you took those results. Did you do a second test after Gary, after Brecka?
No, because
So you had-
genes are your genes. They will always. Well, I have done. So I took my 23andMe raw data,
Right.
and I uploaded on Genie the thing, and then I have also done MaxGen labs because I went to an epigenetic doctor and he wanted that because I wanted to learn from somebody that really knows this. So
there's a lot of people that have done 23andMe. So what was the next step? You ran that through what company to get the more defined data?
So you get your raw data, which I did for Robert. I got his ancestry, and I got the raw data, and then I ran on Genie. You would have to go online and check it out. Free epigenetics translator, and then you upload it there. I think it's Genie. I don't know. I don't remember. And it will give you for free your main genes. So that's what I did. Now I know where I'm really bad. For example, I have MTRR. That's a gene that is a little bit deadly because if you don't support your B12, you're going to get chronic illness.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah, you really need it. Mine's red, so I really need it. And I didn't know. So how many people are going through life and they don't know? And then I also found another study that people that have Parkinson's, they tested the people that have Parkinson's and their levels of ochratoxin was 400. So it made me think like what combination makes that person bypass cancer and go straight to Parkinson. You know what I mean? Like what's going on her body that they don't develop cancer but go straight to Parkinson, that it takes over his body because it starts shaking and all of that,
Right.
but not cancer. So I mean, a lot of people that have Parkinson's have high ochratoxin and they don't know. We're all going through this without knowing what our genes are doing and what mycotoxins were being exposed. Nobody talks about mycotoxins, you know?
So we had a question, and I'm going to try to define and dig down into it a little bit because you and I have talked a bunch about it. Somebody asked about, what do you mean by convenience? Why is convenience harming us? So the conversation you and I had was your trip to Italy. There's no air conditioners. There's no ice in your iced tea, which
Well, all these appliances that we're using.
all the things that you drink, there's no appliances. There's
Yeah.
none of that exists. So all this being addicted to cool, our car has air conditioner, our house has air conditioner, we eat ice all the time, the hospitals have ice all the time, the schools have ice all the time.
They use ice trays on those places.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm using.
But even take it back to instant gratification. I mean,
Exactly.
we like junk food.
Exactly.
You know, this ultra processed crap that's causing us to be
Yeah.
addicted to it. It's-
Everything's so
it's
fast
all-
here.
Yeah.
And you
So-
can't look at it in a silo because it's everything goes together. We're just a chemical processing plant.
Right.
So everything that we take in, whether it's in the air, or through our skin, or through what we eat or drink, is going to be processed in some way, shape, or form. And depending on what
What we can
we're
process.
predisposed to, it's going to. I mean, if you're not doing the right things, it's going to cause.
So-
Trying to back up.
Yeah, so,
Like this lady, she was backed up on folate. She couldn't process.
and the only way she found that out was genetic testing and somebody,
Well, I told her through Facebook Messenger.
so why didn't her doctor tell her?
Nobody's
They
looking
don't
at
test
this.
for it.
Yeah.
That's the deal. And it's the same thing like you were talking about when you were pregnant. You normally take folic acids,
Yeah.
and then
I
and
took
then
folic
didn't-
acid, yeah.
Didn't agree with you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of your.
I had
first
a
clue.
miscarriage, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
So and so you can be doing that thing, and your body doesn't receive it.
Yeah,
right?
folic
It-
acid
it
is
could
very
actually
bad.
Be toxic for you.
Yeah.
Based on your condition, so not knowing, just baseline things.
And anything that we eat that it's enriched, it has folic acid.
yeah.
So like cereals are enriched or flour is enriched.
That means ultra processed.
Yep.
Well, and it has folic acid. For people like me, folic acid is very bad.
Toxic.
Yeah, it's because I keep it all inside of me. So it's very bad.
And so that causes inflammation, that causes other things
Mm-hmm.
going on, gastric distress, all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
is an issue.
If we were to wrap this up, what are 3 tips for prevention?
Well, proper methylation
Yeah, testing.
test. Yeah.
So genetic testing.
Well, you know what I'm going to do from now on the rest of my life? Instead of having an annual, I'm going to do a mycotoxin test for the rest of my life because I know what I'm being exposed to. So that will tell
What
me
does that cost?
$399. It's an online test. You send it to your house. It's a P-test. You send it back. They'll tell you.
What lab are you using?
Real-time labs.
Okay.
You can use Vibrant Wellness. It's very good too, but that's double the price. So for an annual checkup, I would do that.
But if you know, then you can also take proactive steps to alter your diet. You know, you got to, no matter what, people should know you need to go back. Even like we talk a lot about being on a ketogenic diet, but even being smart in that, there's a difference between grain-fed beef, which is really high in omega-6,
And the
inflammatories.
chicken with estrogen
Yeah,
and things like that.
versus grass-fed, which is really high in omega-3s, which are promoting a positive, healthy, even though they're both ketogenic, one of them's not nearly as good
Well,
as
and
the
you
other.
know why the metabolic really works with this theory that I'm putting together, whatever that I thought about it. Keto diet promotes glutathione. It makes you make glutathione, which all these people like me or like Robert or like this lady are depleted of. So glutathione, it's like your antioxidant. So I would say, are they like our soldiers?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so they put our soldiers all hostage and they can come out to help you. That's really what's going on. So you need to give them more soldiers. You know what I mean? So they're all hostage. They can't come out. They're locked up. They're in jail and they can't help you. So that's what's going on inside of you.
Why does
You
my
need more
pastor talk to me
glutathione.
like that? I could understand that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe sometimes you get siloed into
Yeah, yeah.
a train of thought
Yeah.
instead of just being open to looking at things in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we really need is more soldiers.
So there's also Ultra Botanica that does
Well,
work in this space.
Ultra Botanica fixes a lot of the pathways that mycotoxins destroy. So like resveratrol,
EGCG,
yeah.
quercetin,
Yeah, like
quercetin,
PQQ,
curcumin,
yeah, all this stuff. So like I still have stem cells in me. I still have CTC, like circulating tumor cells. And the only thing that will kill that, it's this pathways drugs. I cannot stop taking it until my number is low or until my terrain is finally healthy again. Because right now I'm still
Your
not out of the
body's
woods.
immune system should take care of that when
Yeah.
it's healthy.
So right now I need to rebuild my detox pathway, give it back everything that it took out of me, and make sure I kill those stem cells with the pathway drugs that he sells. And now I want him to like come up with the detox pathway too for us. So with soldiers, I want him to make something that can give us soldiers.
Well, I'm going to close this out. I'll take that. So, Shai, thank you for coming in and being so open about your journey. And you've, as you know, your TikTok, all of your social media has gone crazy, and that's as they try to close you down because all you're talking about is your experience. Whatever happened to free speech, I don't get that, and that's all you're doing is sharing your experience.
And then the good thing is I'm a live case because it's very inhumane to give people mold, but I already drank for 3 years for all of us. So I've taken one for the team.
Well, Josh has been, I met Josh in talking about the pathway drugs, the Ultra Botanica products. That's how a lot of our clients are utilizing Ultra Botanica. That's how I met Keith, who is enjoying himself in Colorado today. So Josh, thank you for coming in and filling in. It was kind of an impromptu session, but I asked Shai if she would share, and she jumped right in there, and I thank you again. I think you're helping a lot of people.
Oh, no, I've been keeping track.
Yeah.
So, because I told my husband I really just wanted to save my life, you know? So since I've shared, a lot of people send me message. So I think right now already I'm at 160. I'm keeping track for when I die, you know? I'm like, so I've helped a few that I'm like,
Well,
maybe we'll
you're
clear out my
right.
sins.
You're a ray of sunshine in here, going through what you're going through and communicating with all of our clients. You're just a lot of fun, and I appreciate you getting on and sharing what you did today. It'll be posted on our website forever. So I'm going to send people to say, hey, you need to listen to what Shai's experience has been, and then start doing your own due diligence. I mean, our health is our health.
Yeah,
And
nobody's going to do a house episode on your
yeah, and your doctor doesn't know how you feel, and the people on TikTok don't know how you feel, but you got to take your health and expand on it and dig down like you did. I mean, that's how you do it. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming and sharing. So this is Paul at hyperbaric.plus. I appreciate everybody being here today. I didn't ask if there were any other questions. I saw some penciled in ones that we covered, I think. So if you've got questions out there, post them, and we'll come back and answer them in this next week. Until then, see us next week. Bye.
Bye.
That's fun, yeah.
Good job, Sean.